This is the open mic. We're here for you guys. We're going to give you a little bit of a dev update, marketplace update, what we've been into, and then we're going to let you guys tell us what you've been working on too. So why don't we get started with Nick? Nick, you can take it away.
So we have quite a number of updates this week for bugs and fixes. We made progress on some new integrations that we're working on. So let's talk about some of these things. We've optimized a database query to check pending tasks, to reduce the number of database locks we have to take out when we're checking for that. It happens really frequently, so we got some nice database optimization going on there. We improved setup instructions for the ServiceNow integration, which is launching today.
Are you sharing your screen? Is anyone else having issues seeing Nick's screen?
I wasn't sure if it was just me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick.
Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Gabriella. This is Chris from Helix Systems. How are you doing?
Hi, Chris.
Doing good, Chris.
He's muted now.
All right. Yep, so we made some database optimizations here. We improved setup instructions for ServiceNow, which is getting released right this second. So if you are a ServiceNow user and you want to integrate that with Rewst, you'll be able to do that today. We fixed a bug with creating workflow tags related to version control, added a close icon to the Rewst loading screen. So if you request Rewst and then he's timing out or you don't want to wait for him, you were previously stuck there. Now you can click an X to close that screen and get back to where you were. We added V2 actions for ConnectWise PSA for list and get site. We deprecated the old ones. They'll still be there. They'll still work. But if you are creating new workflows, use the V2 actions. We fixed a bug with a LionGuard generic request action for following redirects. It was breaking there. That will work now. We tried to fix a problem with debouncing on forms, but we didn't quite get there. We introduced another bug and actually had to revert this. So we're going to take another look at that this one next week. We improved the collapse section behavior for integration override in the triggers. So anywhere you see integration overrides, if you're having trouble collapsing those overrides, that should work now. We virtualized the org variable dropdown in the UI for the org variables page in cases where there are a very large number of options. It was causing the UI to lag and grind to a halt. That should no longer happen. We fixed a bug with custom integrations v2 where a null label would cause the UI to completely crash. That's been resolved. Fixed a typo in WebRoot notifications. WebRoot isn't released yet, but we are getting really close. Everything's been completed for that, and we're in the QA review stage. And I think we still need to write a little bit of documentation, but that's coming very soon. Some users were getting an error when saving OpenAI Azure integration. That error was a false positive. It's not really an error, so we've corrected that situation. We fixed some malformed action parameters in DNS filter actions. So if you were receiving some errors that looked like they might be Rewst related, we've corrected those for DNS filter. We fixed a client-side error in app platform that we're seeing in some cases navigating between pages. It would throw a JavaScript error. That's been fixed as well. And we've also done some work in app platform to split workflow input components into multiple new component types. So you'll have workflow input components for text fields, switches, dropdowns, and number inputs, which includes sliders. Some progress being made on things behind feature flags. IT portal has all its actions completed. It's just waiting for QA review. WebRoot is in that same boat. New dashboard, we're continuing to test. We found some issues this week while testing that on larger data sets like we see in production. So we're going to do some enhancements there to fix the problems that we saw and get those into production so that we can release this very soon. Adigy is still waiting on some QA. Synix Australia integration is code complete. It's got all its actions and it's in code review. Same with Cove integration. GitHub integration is still in development. And granular forms permissions is still in code review. It's been held up a little bit because our authorization system, our permission system provider Warrant was acquired by WorkOS. If you've never heard of WorkOS, they're a fantastic company that provides API tools for developers to implement a lot of common B2B SaaS features that most B2B SaaS apps require, but can be tedious to build. One of those things is authorization and permissions, but they also offer a number of other features. So we are in the process of migrating some of our code over to use their system, which has held this up just a little bit. Some new features. We've got a workflow overwrite notification, which I'm going to have Jordan demo in just a minute, and we'll talk about that when we get there. We're adding a right-click option to the context menu for Form Builder. This will give you the ability to right-click a form field and then select if you want to copy it, cut it, paste, delete. Lots of normal right-click options you would see in other, desktop-type apps. That's currently released behind a feature flag. So it's actually in the wrong section in my documentation here, but that will get released probably next week. We're just really waiting for product management and QA to give the final sign off on releasing that to our users. We've enabled multi-tenancy for the TD Synix integration. We did some investigation and discovered, it came up on last week's call, there are some users who are trying to add a Canadian instance. TD Synix has two separate instances, multiple separate instances, one for US users, one for Canadian users. There's also one for Australia that's completely different API and platform. Luckily, the Canadian platform is the exact same as the US. So we've enabled multi-tenancy for TD Synix. And if you support both US and Canadian customers, you can add your Canadian TD Synix integration using the integration multi-tenancy feature there now. And as previously mentioned, ServiceNow is having the feature flag turned off as we speak, and it will be available for all of you to install and use in your workflows. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan to share his screen real quick on the workflow overwrite notification while I talk about why we did this and some limitations here. So as many of you are very aware with other applications that you use in our space, things like PSAs, it can be very frustrating if you're working on a ticket and somebody else is working on the ticket or updating the same ticket at the same time. You might get into situations where you overwrite somebody else's changes. This can be very frustrating. We have the same problem with workflows. If multiple people are working on the same workflow at the same time and they don't know it, you could end up overwriting one of your coworkers' changes. It's very frustrating. It's a difficult problem to solve, and we know that this solution is not the final solution. It was a fast thing that we could do to go from zero and having nothing, which is where we're at today, to having something a little bit better. But this is not the end goal. This is not the end result. End goal would be, being able to have a notification pop up on the screen when somebody else is viewing the workflow so that when you're looking at it that somebody else is also looking at it. And the ultimate end goal would be something really crazy like multiplayer workflows where you could see and work on the same workflow at the same time. These are difficult features to build. They take a lot of time to build, and we wanted to get something in your hands to improve the situation faster. So knowing that this is not the final form and that there are going to be a lot of enhancements in this area. Jordan, you want to talk about what you did here to take us from zero to something?
Yeah, so as I'm sure you guys have noticed, I have kind of been demoing it in the background of Nick talking, but for those of you who missed it, say we have two different workflows here. I'll even create a new workflow. So essentially, it happens more often than not. We're working in a billion different places. So it happens that we are either open our workflow in more than one tab, or it ends up to where you know, we're working so fast that we don't even realize that we edited this, and then we go back to the other tab and make some additional edits, and we're like, where did those first edits go? And it becomes a little bit frustrating to have to coordinate and make sure that you don't end up foot gunning yourself as a result of working too fast. So this, like Nick said, while not a full, a little bit of echo, I'm not sure, but essentially there comes a way that we can do some work on our side to help prevent these scenarios from happening. So what we do here is we're essentially checking to see whether, you know, any patches have been created in the meantime since you first opened the workflow. So say we'll make some edits here. We'll go ahead and add in another action. We'll go ahead and change this over here, publish this version. And then when we come back over here, you can see that our changes are listed as new changes that were made after we opened the workflow. So say you're not constantly paying attention to your workflow history, though. If you come up here to publish and you're like, oh, I'm just going to publish a new version. If you end up publishing this version, you might end up reverting some of the changes that occurred as a result of you know, saving in one tab and editing in another, or potentially two people editing at the same time. So what we do here is we essentially overwrite any patches that happened in the meantime and just save a global patch that reverts the workflow to this specific version. So we'll go ahead and overwrite this version with what our changes are now, and you can see that we have an additional overwrite patch here, as well as the patch that we made. And if we come back over here, you can see that these two patches are listed in addition. But once we go ahead and reload our workflow, you can see that only the changes that we made in the first tab that were overwritten are saved. I hope that this prevents some issues that we've seen, because I know that it happens a lot. I do it, that, you know, you can just end up foot gunning yourself, and we definitely want to prevent that and prevent you losing work. That's the whole point of version control. So any questions that I can answer before I hand it back over?
Yep, we've got lots of ideas to make this even better, but we went from nothing to something a little bit better than what we had.
Exactly.
Lots of kudos for you in the chat there. Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right.
That's all we've got for today. Back to you, Ash.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, so we're going to jump over to Daniel, who is back with us now for his marketplace update.
Hello, everybody. So I hope everyone can see my screen. I just so happened to be away for 2 weeks, and the marketplace team had maybe their most efficient in 2 weeks that they've ever had. So what does that tell you? All right, we've got some new crates and enhancements. We have 3 new crates this week. If any of you remember setting up your GDAP relationships, we have a solution for you. So this crate will create brand new GDAP relationships, and then it will also make those how those roles are applied more consistent to those created groups. We have full documentation available within the crate itself, as well as we have some additional documentation there. So please check out the documentation that's available. I've linked it right in the notes here. We have another crate that is for on-premise Active Directory password exploration alerts. It looks at passwords expiring in 14, 7, and 3 and 1 days and sends an email to those users. We also have one new crate for enterprise application creation alerts. It just monitors Microsoft Enter Daily for the new enterprise apps and creates tickets in your PSA. We've also added Clea VSA X or VSA 10 to 5 different crates, or 4 crates in one form. So we can now say that we fully support Clea VSA 10. So if you are thinking about moving from your current VSA to VSA 10, please reach out to myself or the Roc or to your CSM to look at migrating over. We also have a whole bunch of bug fixes that went out to user offboarding, onboarding, both V1 and V2 for offboarding, and a few others. I won't go through all of those, but we fixed probably. I think there were some that I didn't get to on here, but yeah, we had a whole bunch of bug fixes as well. And then we have some crates coming soon. We have Sonqual firmware update crate that's still going through review. And then we are adding support for ServiceNow as a PSA into a whole bunch of crates. So that's being worked on. I think it started today and will be going into next week. Yeah, that's about it from the marketplace side of things.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Daniel. So now we are going to jump over to Brandon for our education update.
Heyo. Hello, everybody. I normally like to keep you all on your toes with how many hats I can wear in any given open mic. However, it's Brian's birthday, so today I have all of the hats I could find and had to raise my camera to make sure that we are celebrating with as many hats as possible. So let me share my screen. Happy birthday, Brian. There may be some hidden hats in there, by the way, so you may miscount. I'm going to keep you guys on your toes anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So from the education side, again, just as a reminder, we have wrapped up the 101 through the 103 this week in terms of live trainings for now. We're going to be shifting towards self-serve, and in a little bit, I'll throw it over to Clea to give some updates on that. And next week will be the remaining 104 through 106. And again, we'll be shifting those to self-serve as well. But before I throw it over to Clea, I have a few updates. First of all, from a retro perspective, I just recently repurchased a Super Nintendo, which was amazing, and found that there are some upscaling cords that you can get for HDMI and wireless controllers. So you can play your retro games in the most convenient modern way possible, which was amazing, and I'm very excited about it. And you can also get that set up for a bunch of other old consoles as well, like my PS2. I have a similar setup. But the biggest tip of the week is to not miss the latest and greatest of gaming platforms that have been out for a short period of time now, but perhaps you didn't know that Rewst itself can play Doom. Shout outs to Dustin Riley for his post on LinkedIn, because he just proved what I've been saying all along, that Rewst can play these games, and I'd like to see more of that from all of you. So more emulation on the platform, please. Let's make it happen. Shout outs to Keone, Sam, Nathan, Randy, Skylar, Adam, Bob, Frank, John, and our very own Abhishek and Charles for successfully passing the certification exam. You guys will get your certification badge, your certificate, and you will get access to our super not so secret Discord channel that I will not name this time, but may have named it last time. Make sure you check out our Discord Cluck channel for any questions that you guys have while you're going through the trainings or as you are trying to apply what you're learning. We are happy to engage with you there, and then make sure to sign up for office hours if you're going through trainings to chat with our team for any questions you have, or the Roc AMA if you have been certified, and you can get access to our awesome Roc team, and you can ask some more in-depth questions there as well. So for the rest of us down here, there's a couple things I'll point out, and then I'm going to throw it over to Clea to give some updates on where we're going from here. So first of all, we have an updated form organization variables page. There was a typo there that's been updated by Brian. I'm pretty sure he did this for his birthday. He wanted to be noticed. So we notice you, Brian. Happy birthday. So we have that in the update here as well. We just want to make sure that we talk about your birthday as many times as possible because this is going on YouTube, including those pictures. And we also have our 100 series updated with some new things, which I will send over to Clea. So Clea, do you want to take it from here and give us all some more updates on what's going on?
Yeah, I already did take it from you, the screen sharing permission. So sorry for jumping in early. I was just like trying to set up, but then it was like, bloop, here you go. So I brought us briefly to the education page, but I will backtrack and go here. No, I won't. I'll go here. But as you can tell, while I'm here, we have a lot in Cluck University. And I'll point out some of these things because I think a lot of people tend to skim past that you might not know about some hidden gems. But because I'm trying to look at the chat and my notes and the screen, and you all bear with me while I get caught up. And apologies for not wearing my hat. I do have a Rewst hat, and I was going to try to outdo Brandon by wearing like 10 hats. I think I can do it, but give me till next week's open mic because I got to practice like, I don't know, some neck curls or something. So this week was the last live trainings for 101 to 103, aka Foundations of Automations through Gingerland. So thank you very much to this week's attendees. Don't know if any of them are on this call, but it was a super engaged group and I had a blast and I will really miss it for a while until I get back to live training. Next week is our next week be the final dates for 104 to 106. So notice on the Rewst Foundations page that we have a call out there. You can still find links to the live training signups on that page. I'll go ahead and drop that one in the chat. As always, you know, if you are attending self-paced, you are never alone, even if you want to be, not to sound too creepy. But for example, the 101 page, you can watch the amazing Eddie roll with his videos. And at the bottom of every single page, there is a link to office hours. One of those hidden gems, not enough people sign up. When they do attend, they always learn something new. And I love when customers sign up just to see what questions other people have or to pick our brains, pick the Cluck U professor's brains. So every Thursday, office hours, sign up there, or as always, ask us questions in Cluck U. You'll also notice some updates to these self-paced pages. There will be new videos coming in September. I'm working really hard on those. I'll just tell you, like 101 is kind of simple, right? But 102 through 106, we really get into building things. So my strategy overall has been to incorporate feedback from the Rewst community and staff, break things down into shorter chunked videos so you can skip ahead, you can rewind the parts you want. I have a lot more analogies and explanations for the non-technical folks like myself. So if you wanted to learn about list comprehension using Jinja by using an analogy that has you build a better basket of apples that does not contain Red Delicious, that'll be coming up in the 103 videos. So I'm hard at work on those. Our editor is hard at work on making me look good in them, and they will be launching in September. We'll keep you posted. Also, something new is you have a chance to check your knowledge for each, Red Suspicious. I agree. Like, I think that brand was created to like withstand a nuclear blast or something. Like they're supposed to last 1 billion years and it's just bad news all around. Sorry if anyone likes Red Delicious, but I'm suspicious of your taste buds. Back to the point. Thank you to my colleague Trisha, who worked very hard to set up all of these knowledge check resources. They're on all the self-paced pages. Make sure to use your email address that you use for Rewst so you can get credit for these quizzes. You can retake them if you get anything wrong. You might have seen the quiz questions on the completion form that you can fill out on each page to get credit for watching self-paced, but now they are here, and they are here because as soon as you submit the answer, you will get some feedback, and you no longer have to hold your breath and be like, was I right? Was I wrong? I don't know. It's going to keep me up all night. So real-time quizzes, real-time feedback, definitely use those to brush up for your exam. And let me see if I forgot anything. Ooh, the hidden gems. Okay, so a lot of folks skip past this, and I do my best to emphasize it in the live trainings, but there is a whole slew of getting started videos. These are the first things that I went through when I learned Rewst. Building the Hello World workflow was honestly how I learned how to make a form and a workflow and connect the two without setting up any special integrations. So some really good stuff there that is all important for the certification exam and really for building your foundational skills in Rewst. We also have electives, which we'll probably change the name of at some point, but I can't give these enough love. Major props to Brandon and Trisha and other folks from our team who worked on them. But like how to reference data with variables, this is my absolute favorite one, because if you, like me, were going, where the heck does result come from? When do I use tasks or publish as or data aliases? Like just hidden gem of a video. It's less than 10 minutes. Again, lots of content to explore and learn about. And that is all found in the left-hand menu. I'll stop sharing from there, but let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Clea. I think that those updates are going to be really awesome. So anybody, even if you've done it before, go back and check them out again. You'll probably pick something up that you didn't before. I think Aaron's with us now. Do you want to jump back over? Say hi.
Everyone hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at IT Nation Evolve in Denver. Their Wi-Fi is about 300 baud where I am. So I have no video. Bear with me if I break up. I wanted to talk a little bit. We made an announcement about some maintenance that we need to perform this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. We've been notifying you folks every way that we know how to. For the team, if I say something wrong, can you just correct me in the chat, please? But we have scheduled between 6 7 p.m. Eastern to do this today. Odds are it's not going to take that long. We're putting buffer. The workflows will continue to process during this time, but things like Robo-Roosty, action options, let's see what else, app platform, crate unpacking, and live. If someone comes in the coop, have our back and say, hey, we've been telling you. I'm going to go off script now and say, why are we doing this? And stress out, let's see, stress out maybe stress out Nick a little bit on why we're doing this. We currently have a London instance of Rewst. We are spinning up as many Rewsts that we can, complete installations, isolated running. So we don't just have one Rewst. There is more work that we need to do.
I love that he keeps going in and out when he's trying to leak things. Aaron, just so you know, we can't hear you and we're missing all the juicy details.
Crap.
Aaron, if you're pacing, then stay where you are right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I just turned my Bluetooth off, so now you're going to get all of the background noise. We've got a a London instance of Rewst. We're spinning up as many of them as we can. We still have work that we need to do to operationalize the new instances of Rewst. One of the pieces of work that we're doing is replicating Marketplace between all of the instances. And so we need to come down for a little bit this evening to do some back-end work to get the replication up and running for us. But my hope is we'll have thousands of MSPs distributed across dozens of instances of the product instead of basically one like we have today. And that's my update. Who did the Aharon opening today?
We didn't have one. I did it for the most part. You could off the top of your head say what are the top things that should be included in the Aharon openings going forward.
I could think of lots of things to include in the Aharon opening. I'm gonna get off audio because I have no bytes. I'm at 300 baud.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. We'll have to actually, that's funny. To just put an image in my head of that show Upload, if anybody's seen it, like the 2 GB section. Anyways, so now we're going to jump over to our demos. And the first person I've got on the list today is Emmitt. Emmitt, you were supposed to show us last week, but we had to push you to this week. So I think it was like a dispatch assistant of some sort for machine wiping.
Yes. So what I have built, and we just unveiled it to the team on Wednesday. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. We're having an issue with our office just cluttering up with computers that we replaced from our clients, whether they needed to be recycled and we were going to repurpose them later on. We were having just random PCs and laptops sit on desks and around the cubicles. So I created something that would hopefully help with that. So I'm going to share my screen. And it starts with the work. This initial workflow starts by listening for a completed on-site setup ticket, and the Jinja, it looks for the type, the PC setup install, action, updated, new equipment installation. The summary is always going to be on-site setup. That's just how we have have it set up for our projects, and then the status name completed. And what that does is it sends an email to the user that updated the ticket to completed. And from there, the technician gets this form, and it asks if the client wants us to recycle the device being replaced. If they hit yes, it asks which company. I'll go ahead and do my favorite test company, and then who is requesting the machine to be recycled, put my name, and then a random computer. This is one of ours in office, so I'm not going to actually wipe the device. It's just pulling the computer from Ninja. And then this is the catalyst. So does the client require a certificate of destruction? As soon as they hit yes and submit, it will go here. And from there, it follows one of two paths. If they want us to recycle it, and they want a certificate of destruction, it goes through this path here. It lists the the name of the computer and goes in and gets the serial number for the hard drive, and then it gets the name of the company, and it sends an email to our dispatcher looking for with the name of the company, the serial number of the hard drive, and the person requesting the certificate of destruction. And then from there, we use Emmitt to wipe our machines, to repurpose them. We have a wipe client that I call it the wipe client, and from there it gets the password, the local Leap account password of the that we have for the client, and puts it into a ticket, and then gives it to our dispatcher, so that way she can assign it. And we have a stack in our warehouse where our technicians can go and wipe the device. If it doesn't need a certificate of destruction, it follows the same path, but doesn't send the email to our dispatcher. And then we've got error handling in here in case the serial number, it couldn't for whatever reason get the serial number, or for whatever reason it couldn't get the company. The future plan of this is to remove our endpoint agents like SentinelOne or Huntress or antivirus, DNS filter, and all the other fun things that gets installed when we set up the computers.
It's really impressive. How did you identify, like, was this something that you guys were having to do a lot? Was like, how much time of this was this taking your dispatcher?
So before I became the automation guy for our company, I was at the field service. I was in the field service side. So I noticed my desk getting cluttered with unused machines, and we wanted to find a way that was helpful to her as well as to the cleanliness of our office. Because as we hired more people, more machines started piling up. So
it's really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, next up, we are going to jump over to Aaron. Aaron had another workflow that he was going to show us last week too that we didn't get to, so he is going to show it to us now.
Sorry, I was currently handling the computer desk mess that he was talking about. Let me go ahead and let me share my screen. Okay, it's not showing I'm sharing my screen, but is it sharing for everybody?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. So we were trying to figure out kind of the best way to handle having one form and one workflow across organizations and across user roles and everything like that. I talked a little bit with Rewst support on it, and we actually came to the conclusion that probably either list items or something like that would kind of be the best way to handle it inside of an org variable. So we went ahead and set up, let me find it. We went ahead and we set up this drop-down selection that essentially pulls from this one workflow, and it just goes ahead and pulls that org variable of all those roles, and we'll go ahead and list those out for us inside a JSON format. Once it does that, we'll pull the role value and the role field. And that may look a little bit weird. I do have to go back and do some relabeling and stuff like that. But the reason why that's set up like that as of right now is when we go ahead and we pull that role field, it'll pull this entire section, and that'll allow us to pull, you know, what role they are, the M365 license that they need, whether or not they need Duo, and it changes pretty wildly from client to client, but it allows us to have the same kind of structure set up for each one. It's only one org variable to manage, and that way it's all centralized inside of one workflow and one form for us. And then we can actually go ahead and from here, let's say we're talking about a manager. So for example, they need Duo, whereas some other users do not. So if we go on over to our Duo check, if I can find my brain, in this we'll go ahead, and the majority of the actual functionality happens right here. We set roles to org variable roles JSON. We go through, we select that attribute, role equal to, and we search for, inside of that role section, we're searching for that subsection of Duo needed, which is right inside of here for us. And if Duo is needed and matches true, then it is going to set that value, that check mark, as checked. Hey, the user does need Duo. You don't have to worry about anything in the background. The checkbox is hidden. The account creation will happen, and you don't even need to worry about it. The reason why I set it up as a hidden field is because not every single manager and not every single user is going to both know what Duo is or what it is needed for, what roles it's required for. So to kind of avoid that confusion, we got what roles it's needed for. We hard-coded that in the back. And if you need a Duo account, it'll create it. If you don't, it won't. Checkboxes are one of the few things that we can check the functionality of while it is still hidden. That has helped astronomically because I'm able to go ahead and bring that same rough list format and apply it in other companies, for example, like this. We can go ahead and essentially just remove, you know, hey, they don't need 365, they need Gmail. Or hey, they don't need Duo, they need Okta. We can go ahead and just pretty much swap out those variables, and it makes it relatively nice and easy over on the form side because there's not really any editing that we have to do for specifically one company or anything like that. That's pretty much all I have for that one. I will show a preview of it, I guess. Because that would probably be good. So let's say we're filling out something for a service manager. We already know they needed that Duo, that it's hidden, everything like that. Not only does that, it actually assigns the correct Microsoft license. And the reason why that's not hidden is because there's a lot more use cases where users will need to switch licensing or something like that. Whereas security-based stuff, it tends to be pretty tight per role.
That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing. Does anybody have any questions for Aaron before we move on? If not, all right. Thank you. So we're going to jump over to something a little bit different. It does incorporate Rewst. For those of you who don't know, or who do know, whatever, the CyberDrain's CTF registration has opened. And so one of the things that is happening with the CTF this time, for anybody who hasn't done it before, it's like a system admin capture the flag that, you know, you get to go through all of these challenges. And leading up to when the event starts, they're doing some retro challenges of all of the old stuff. And for the first 2 weeks, if you wanted to register and get a head start on some of those old things, you had to figure out how to register. And there was some creative ingenuity that went into that, as well as some similar threads around how a CTF was run at Flow. So I wanted to invite John to kind of go over that registration process and show what people's pain endured during that time.
Hello. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. You guys will probably recognize this window. It's a very blank page, just a little image. You could poke around, you could go look at the page source and see that you're getting teased. There's clearly something about this page that is important, but people just don't know where to look. So what you can do is actually take this file, this image file, the only thing on the page, apart from like the header and all the rest of the stuff that's part of CTFD, download it, and then you can take it over to something like this guy here, an EXIF file metadata viewer, upload your file, and you could scroll down, and you guys might see something that's suspicious in the metadata. Just happens to be a URL that you guys are all pretty familiar with. Now, there's a trick to this, because in order to get that data back, obviously we need to have a Rewst secret, and we had to give that to you guys. So those were the funny random words that Kelvin left at the end of his announcement about the CTF starting. Just happened to be the Rewst secret. And then once you get past that point, you actually get to the workflow that powers this little webhook engine. And it's very simple, just a few no-ops and then a Discord message to tell us that you guys did it. But when you get to level 1, first off, you have to be using a post request. If you don't, it just gives you a bunch of funny messages, which I have saved in the variables. That's just a bunch of random things that all have the word post in the response to indicate where you need to go next. And it just picks them at random and it mocks you until you get that part right. I actually threw an Easter egg in. I don't know if anybody got this one, probably not, but if you, for a different challenge, if you find something, there's an Easter egg, but yeah, basically if you send a user in the JSON body of the message of your post request, it doesn't matter who it is or anything, it will tell you what the code is. And there's the code for anybody that needs it. But I feel like, haven't we opened that up yet? I think
yeah, it's opened up now, yeah.
So yeah, really just kind of a silly thing to just, find the people that were really determined to register.
Thank you, John. That's fun. And like that, you spun that up super quickly too. Like that. Like,
oh yeah.
I think all you did was trigger the webhook. How can I make this
somewhat challenging?
Yeah. So I think that the negative time savings reward on that one for everybody who spent some time on it is definitely quite high.
Oh no, I think breadcrumbs is worse though.
Yes, indeed. All right, thank you so much for showing that off, and thank you to everyone else who showed stuff off too, Aharon and Emmitt as well. We have a few minutes left, so if anybody has any questions, I think Tim, you're still on, right? Yeah, we can probably field some questions if anybody has any. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up here in a few minutes.
Yep, we've got 5 minutes, so if we have any simple questions, anybody's curious about the future, if anybody wants clarification on anything that was announced or talked about today, it's a good chance for that.
When you say the future, I start saying, are you going to do fortune telling? But that's not the type of future you're talking about.
Only the future we know about.
Where are our folders?
Alden showed you those last week.
Does anyone have a workflow question? We got an error?
So I actually did run into something, and I was kind of curious if anybody ran into something similar. So I was trying to use the email action. When there's a feature for using markup inside of it. Now, looking up context for markup and everything like that, it's roughly very similar to HTML. It looks like something along these tags should be, a line break. But when I use the email client, it just kind of shows the break
BRs.
tag.
Yeah, so Markdown's a little bit different. You can Google like the GitHub Markdown syntax, which is what we use. Really, if you just want empty lines, then just a double line feed should do that for you.
All right. Yeah, I was curious if it was specific Markdown or what was happening, because obviously just something wasn't translating right.
Yeah, and stuff that works out really well are bullet points and just like with an asterisk or a dash for a bullet point. You can do tables if I remember right. So if you look up the Markdown syntax for tables where you use the pipe character to split fields, that all works pretty well.
All right. Yeah, I pulled up the Google Markdown and favorited that as well. Thanks.
Yeah. And a little tip is one way to kind of play with this, and really a good way to store your content for things like emails is to use the templates feature in Rewst. And you can store your Markdown in those templates, and it'll even provide you a little preview version of it as well. And any Jinja you put in those templates will be rendered whenever it's used as well.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I had something that might be quick. I've been setting up, I've been working on redoing all of my workflows, moving towards a much more functional style. And in doing so, I find myself making a lot of input variables for a workflow that are object type because I want to pass a whole object. And then I find that I actually have to like recreate the object. So I was just wondering if when you call a sub workflow and the input variable type is object, would it be possible to get a text box there to just say CTX dot here's my object instead of having to map every property?
That's definitely a frustration I'm aware of as well. That's a good one for Canny. I'm not sure if we have that in Canny.
We actually do have a ticket on that in Shortcut right now.
Perfect.
Yeah, I hear that weird sound as well. But yeah. So yeah, we'll if it's in Shortcut, then hopefully it'll get to the dev team soon. But definitely share that frustration, and handling objects could be better through sub workflows for sure.
So pending a solution, is it better to just kind of keep working with it, or because the other option is to treat everything as text and then convert it back and forth on each end, but I just kind of hate that extra step.
Yeah, I've actually done that a couple of times, where like basically stringify the JSON on the way through the that sub workflow. Another thing I've done is just put that object into like another sub object. So you just kind of go another layer deep with your dictionary. And so you send in a variable, but then you send in that variable's attribute within that. Yep, I think that's
Okay.
kind of what Nick is saying. Yeah, use an object as a wrapper object. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Wait, but then how do you actually pass that in the action? Oh, you would just, it'd just be the one field is
Exactly.
the,
Yeah.
I
the
got
one
it. I got
field
it. Yeah.
has all those other fields in it.
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
Also not pretty, but it'll work for now.
Yeah, I think I'll just hold my horses because it sort of defeats the cleanliness I'm trying to achieve with the functional design.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. It's that time. Thank you for everyone that took the time out of their day to demo in front of, but we had 160 people on, in front of 160 people. Thank you. Thank you, Ash, for putting this together. And thank all of you for joining. See you again next Friday. Toodles.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.